Okay, so that was just a little bit of fun, but what I'm about to tell you isn't funny at all. Formula One could be getting another circuit, but it's a street circuit again, this time in Chicago. Now, this is by no means guaranteed. No means guaranteed. But the reason this has come to people's attention is because F1 has recently registered the trademark for the Formula One Grand Prix of Chicago. F1 is playing a cruel joke on us, surely, but there are suggestions of a possible new Grand Prix coming to Chicago. Not just because of that one trademark, but F1 has actually registered a number of trademarks, including the Grand Prix of Chicago, the Formula One Grand Prix of Chicago, Chicago Grand Prix, and Formula One Chicago Grand Prix, just covering all the bases there. Now, registering a trademark does not mean that the Grand Prix is confirmed by any stretch of the imagination. I do want to make that clear, because trademarks are registered all the time by companies, including probably Formula One. Just sometimes people notice it. It is, however, an indication that at the very least a discussion is taking place. With Formula One, with the city of Chicago, a conversation is happening about hosting a race there. Whether it actually happens is another thing, and if it did happen, how far in the future, that's to be debated. There is an image doing the rounds on the internet of a potential layout. Again, I need to stress, this isn't a confirmed layout, it's not a finalized layout, it's just a concept. It's really just to give you an idea of what it could be. Just like most other circuits, it would be a part purpose-built track and part street circuit. It was only last week that we were told Madrid was coming to the calendar in 2026. They've got a 10-year deal. Straight away, a 10-year deal. We haven't seen the circuit. We've seen actually a video from Assetto Corsa of a rendered version of the track, and it's interesting. But I am going to try and hold judgment on the Madrid circuit until I've actually seen a proper render, of official render from Formula One, or a proper simulator. The big concern for me, though, is we're going down this route of having a lot of street circuits. But there's a lot of circuits on the track that I like, whose contracts are currently up for renewal as well. Just for reference, these are the most recent circuits added to the Formula One calendar, at least the ones I can think of. We've got Las Vegas, street circuit. Miami, street circuit. Jeddah, street circuit. You may not think it because most of the track was purpose-built, but it is a street circuit. Baku, street circuit. Madrid, street circuit. That's obviously coming in 2026. Qatar, on the other hand, is a permanent track. So 5 of the last 6 circuits added to the calendar are street circuits. But if we're being entirely objective, you could also include tracks like Zandvoort and Imola in that list, because they've been added back to the calendar recently, although you could argue F1 is returning to those circuits rather than being a new circuit. But in the interest of fairness, we should mention they've been added back to the calendar, and they are permanent race circuits, and good ones at that. If we include all of the street circuits currently on the F1 calendar, so that means all of the ones that have temporary sections that aren't 100% permanent, we have Jeddah, Australia, Miami, Monaco, Canada, Baku, Singapore, Las Vegas, with Madrid coming in 2026. That's 9 of the 24 races. If we start adding more, we could get to the point where half of the calendar is actually street circuits. Is that too many? Well, I haven't been kind on street circuits before, so it might surprise you what I'm about to say. It's not the quantity that's the problem. It's the quality. I'm personally a fan of Australia. I think Jeddah is actually a really good track as well. Monaco holds a lot of history, even though I'm personally not a massive fan of the race there. I think the cars are too big now for the circuit. I've also been a huge fan of Canada. I love Canada. So it isn't really the fact that they're adding street circuits that necessarily bothers me. It's what that means. Because F1 is trying to push these big races in cities now because it's glamorous and they want the money from it. But that doesn't always lead to good racing. The tracks are often compromised. Providing the circuits are actually good, I don't mind where we race. But the circuits aren't always good. Miami is probably a good example of that. I'm not sure Miami has been well received when it comes to the circuit side of things. And they put on this massive show, but now Vegas has kind of come along and upstaged it. I'm sure some people would say they don't really like Baku, Singapore. So there are a lot of street circuits that divide opinion. Some big circuits on the F1 calendar have contracts running out soon as well. Suzuka in 2024, Silverstone also in 2024, and then Belgium and Monza both run out in 2025. Now, I don't personally see Suzuka or Silverstone at risk. And Monza, well, surely that's guaranteed to extend, but Spa's been on the chopping block for a while, which as someone who loves the track, I just couldn't imagine losing it from the calendar. Just as a note as well, some circuits that we've been at over the years don't necessarily want to host Formula 1 races. Well, they do, but it's just not financially viable. We've had the German Grand Prix over the years. We've had it at the Nürburgring. We've also had it at Hockenheim. Some of these circuits, just using them as an example, they can't afford to run Formula 1 races anymore. Some people might not know this. Not all circuits, but most circuits have to pay for the privilege of hosting a Formula 1 race. And the problem with that is some circuits just don't find it financially viable. They can't make the revenue back, so they just don't want to do it. They have so many other series that race at these circuits that it's just not financially viable to be spending that money on Formula 1. And I completely agree. No, I've never been to Chicago, but I hear they call it the Windy City. It rains there quite a lot as well, as I understand it. So us Brits, well, we'll be right at home. So I expect a wet race around the streets of Chicago. Like I said earlier, the race isn't confirmed by any stretch of the imagination, but I kind of wanted to talk about where we're going with Formula 1 now, with so many street circuits mentioned. We had a London Grand Prix mentioned. Then Madrid's now been confirmed. Now we're looking at Chicago. And yes, this isn't confirmed. It's not guaranteed. But these rumours and these sort of discussions that we're having now all seem to be around street circuits. How often do we hear discussions about a normal circuit? We had a little bit about Kyalami, and then that fell by the wayside, which is a shame, really. It's mostly street circuits, but there's some really good circuits out there that I think would be fantastic for Formula 1 that still have history as well. Some of them we've raced on before. But for now, street circuits are the order of the day. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.